Stop pitching.
Yeah.
Just show what you have built.
Yeah.
Let the product speak for itself.
Welcome to Spotlight On, a podcast about how companies are built from the people doing the building, one messy, exhilarating decision at a time.
Welcome to Spotlight On. I'm your host, Eric Wolford, and I have with me Tarun Thakur, CEO and founder of Veza. Tarun, tell us a little bit about Veza.
Great to be here. Thank you so much, Eric. With Veza, we are building a identity security, next generation identity security company. And, the company is about 200 people big. We're about 5 years old, about 200 customers across all Fortune 500, Fortune 100. And
So you're very enterprise focused?
Yes.
You're a very big company?
Yes, top down, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
90% of the team is in the US.
Okay.
10% of our team is in Slovenia, Eastern Europe.
Wow.
And
Slovenia.
Slovenia.
Okay. We'll come back to that. Let's talk a little bit about your origin story. I know you began working in some very large companies, but then at one point, this isn't your first startup. You did another startup. Don't tell me too much about that, but just what was it like doing your first startup, and how is it different doing your second startup?
I come from a very entrepreneurial background growing up as a kid. And you're right, my first job was writing assembly language code in a company called Seagate. And from there into Compaq.
Okay.
And, I was very fortunate to be part of the data domain family and really saw what great scale looks like.
Got
and
it.
have a great product market
Yeah.
fit.
Data Domain was a great company.
And so it was very fortunate. In 2014, as we were finishing that journey, I thought I would just join another company, but we ran into this idea, and I didn't really know that we were starting a company.
Yeah.
And so I say, the first time being a founder from 2014 to 2018, really didn't know
Right.
what it means to start
Yeah.
a company and what means it to build a company.
Yeah.
But yet I learned so much, and that company was acquired, called Datos, was acquired by Rubrik in 2018. But I was very convinced that I want to go do this again because
Got
I
it.
learned so much.
Got it.
How to
Got
build
it.
a team, how
Yeah.
to raise money, how to think about product market, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So what gave you impetus to start Veza?
Both of my co-founders and myself, we've been building data companies for scale,
Okay.
at scale, I should say, from file systems to data management systems and data protection systems.
Okay.
And so when we were leaving 2019, 2020, the question we were thinking is, what does it take to go secure access to data?
Okay.
Right? We have so much security tooling in the world,
Okay.
from network to endpoint to SaaS, yet there's a breach every week. Why is this happening?
Okay.
And so, we started this company with those theses that, look, what does it mean to go secure access to data? At those times, data security was a big theme back in 2020.
Okay.
And so, we took that insight and this was my biggest learning applying the second time, is even though we had our own insights and our beliefs that, look, there's something broken here, we essentially took 9 to 10 months,
Okay.
took that idea of insights and just met prospects.
Wow.
That, hey, the first employee we hired was an SDR, not an engineer,
Okay.
not a designer, not a product manager.
Right.
We went and hired an SDR.
Right.
And we said, hey, here is a one-pager pitch. Could you get me in front of 5 prospects a week? Product team, capital, everything is important, but the number one is market.
Okay.
And
I
so
see.
we
So
wa-
understanding the customer's purchase need.
Correct.
Okay.
And understanding, is this the why now?
Okay.
Right? There's always problem to be solved.
Okay.
There is why now and why Veza and why anything, but I believe the why now is the most important.
Reflect on one of those conversations, if you could, with those early prospect customers before you had a product that helped influence and shape the product you were going to build. Describe one that was influential.
Yeah, no, I think, look, this was about 6 to 8 months, and we were going down a path of building a data security platform where we wanted to go solve the problem of scanning and classification
Okay.
in the cloud. And what this was a very large customer, and they were like, look, why would you go solve this problem when there are n number of tools available to solve this problem? But I have this problem, I have these users who access data,
I see.
and I have no way to know who's accessing what. He said it in such simple ways.
I see.
And this guy is...
So instead of securing the data, it's looking at the access to the data.
That's exactly
Who has
right.
access to the data?
And we never thought that's a problem.
Okay.
And he was so nice, he actually wrote a 2-pager Word document.
Okay.
This is what I do today, and this is what would make my life better.
Got it.
So given you're smart guys,
Got it.
can you go solve this problem?
Wow.
User and identity system
Yeah.
has access to many, many systems in an organization. Who is doing what? Can I just get that baseline? Can you be that X-ray machine for me?
Got it. Got it.
And so I think that was the most exciting time in our journey, where we looked at that and said, this makes so much sense.
Okay.
You get that click.
Yeah.
And we said,
so
okay.
such a simple question, right? Who has access to what?
And who can take what action?
Okay. So it's
On
not
what
just who
you-
has access to what, but what can they do?
What can they do? And so we said, okay, there's something here. And then we just took that thread and we just kept pulling that thread.
Okay.
And we started the next 10 conversations were about that problem statement.
And what was the response?
That response was very, that was very, very positive. And they were like, this is a real problem if you guys can go solve it.
Got it.
And that led to, sort of having that, I call these moments as founding moments. You may start a company,
Yeah.
but then you need these founding moments when there are many, many of them in the company building journey.
Yeah.
And that was the founding moment for the company,
Wow.
where we actually realized that
That's pretty pivotal. Yeah. You adjusted what you thought you were going to do a bit based
pivoted.
upon the customer's
We
feedback.
pivoted in the first 8 months. That look, instead of solving the data security and the data governance and the data lineage problem, let's go solve the data access problem.
Okay.
And that became a founding moment for the company. And we said, okay, we're going to put our head down, build an MVP as fast as we can.
You said you had founders. This is for everybody's benefit. Did you have one founder, two co-founders?
Eric, with three of us. Rob Witcher, who's our chief architect.
Okay.
I've known Rob through the data domain times. He's a puzzle maker. And Amawa Lu, I met him at IBM Research in Almaden, so I've known him also for 10, 12 years. Probably the most algorithmic CTO that I've met.
Okay.
Very smart, very technical.
So you had prior relationships.
Correct.
This wasn't any founder dating arrangement by us venture capitalists.
No.
Okay.
Look, I believe for founders out there and entrepreneurs that this is such a special relationship, not a year, but decades enduring, durable relationship, that the only thing that matters is trust.
And are you still together?
Yes. We'll be together for there's always highs and lows, but yes, we'll always be together.
Okay.
Yes. No, we built, these journeys actually bring you a lot more together.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Okay, so you get your first funding, you start out to build the product. What was the first big as you went to build the product?
Very quickly, Eric, we realized from MVP into 9 months or 6 months, this is a very large scale problem.
Okay.
Because the cardinality of this problem, you may only have 5,000 users in an organization, but if you have access to 50 different systems with each permission and entitlements,
I see.
This is a large scale data problem.
I see.
And one of the moments that came in our journey is like, we actually need to go study how to build pagination in graph.
I see.
We have never solved those hard technical problems. How do you visualize that at scale?
I see.
And so what my co-founders and I, Mao and I specifically did, we found the best graph professor in US.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech has the best graph PhDs. We found Professor Polo and we read 10 of his papers. And we did 20 calls with him.
Yeah.
That, hey, we want to understand
That's great.
how to do graph visualization
That's
at
great.
scale.
That's great.
That's the problem state we went to him. And Professor Polo, he has written 22 papers.
Yeah.
His students now are at open.ai.
Got it. Wow, that's really good. How in the world did you get, pick one, let's go Blackstone. How did you get Blackstone, who I presume now is a customer? Is that
They
fair
are
to
a
say?
customer
Okay.
and an investor.
And an investor. Okay. So Blackstone's big name, huge firm for sure. One of the leaders. How in the world did you persuade them or develop a product that they wanted? I mean, what was describe that process?
We pitched it to Adam, the Chief Information Security Officer of Blackstone, on a Zoom call, who took a call from SDR. And he said, this is great. And he said, there are 3 processes I want you to go solve: access reviews, lifecycle management, and access request. I said, great, Adam, where can we start? We cannot do 10. He said, I want you to go solve access review problem because, Tarun, that's an end user business process.
Got it.
And that's number one immediate pain. So follow the pain. He said, hey, look, if you can take what you have built and wrap a workflow around it, you already have the metadata and the data set. You need to build a workflow around it.
Got it.
So I can issue recertifications off of Veza.
Got it.
then you have something.
What was it that you think he saw in Veza early on that caused him to even want to lean in?
Some of the biggest customers we've been able to close and win, Workday, Capital One, Intuit, KKR, Cargill. So the reason why we've been able to close some of these very large enterprises is we are showing them something that they know implicitly, but they've never been able to see. And I think every time we show them this entitlement view, the identity to entitlement map, that access path,
Right.
their eyes just
It's an
light
aha
up.
moment is what
I'll
you're
give
saying.
you one more.
It's another one of those founder moments.
Yes,
It's an
founding
aha,
moments.
It's an aha
The
moment.
founding, I'll give you one more. And this is actually, I always pull on this one. David Tabreski, the Chief Information Security Officer of Wynn Resorts. COVID 2022, on a Zoom call, takes a call from SDR. His video is of 25 minutes of a 30-minute call. That's all you get with a CISO. And I kept yapping and yapping and yapping, pitching. Hard. I was alone. And I said, this is not working. Because you can see from a discussion. And I stopped sharing, stopped drawing. I actually brought up the demo. And he immediately turned on the Zoom video.
Right.
And he said, could you just have started there?
Right.
Instead of 22 minutes.
So that may lead us to one of your best learnings. But keep going.
And this happened to me from there on. Royal Bank of Canada, Adam Evans, the Chief Information Security.
Yeah.
I kept pitching to him. And
So
he's
that's a
not
great
responding.
learning. That's a great learning.
And he's not
You were
responding.
excited about your pitch, but he was excited to see your product.
Yes. And that's my learning, that in early days, stop pitching. Just show what you have built. Let the product speak for itself.
So you're saying that experience that you had with David was then transferable to future interactions you had.
The first
and then it
50,
made you
100.
much more effective.
Absolutely.
I'm sure when you take someone like JP Morgan or pick any of these others, the amount of potential places to deploy access control or permission, visibility, who has access to what is vast. Describe to me a little bit the progression that some customers take. They start here and then they go here and then they, just describe that.
No, absolutely.
The land and expand motion.
Look, we are a land and expand business through and through. We have two lands or two lanes that we try to land. The first lane is what we call the X-ray machine, the visibility, intelligence, and monitoring. And the second lane is identity governance. And so we land 70-30, 80-20, 65-35, depending on the quarter. And we try to land, customers will want to say, hey, we want to apply this visibility for 10 to 15 systems. Veza for Salesforce, Veza for Snowflake, Veza for file shares. And so that's a land, and it's a very fast land for us. And our expansion, our enterprise NRR is 147%. And one of the reasons behind our expansion.
That's pretty big.
Our expansion in enterprise is we're expanding either I want to add 100 more integrations. Or I want to grow from human to non-human identities. Or we want to go from the visibility product to the workflow product. And so I think those three become our vectors for expansion. And so, the framework we've been using, thanks to you, you've been coaching that is something new to something old. And there is a lot of something new coming.
Yeah.
Our go-to-market motion is land and expand, bimodal go-to-market. We're mid-market. And that's another thing I would suggest to follow entrepreneurs and founders is, it's fun to work with the Cokes and the Coca-Colas and the Adobes and the ServiceNows of the world, iconic brands. But there is a lot more fun if you can have these two motions going in parallel.
Got it. So a middle market and an enterprise.
Middle
motion.
market and enterprise. If you can get these two motions going early, you'll get a lot of good feedback to come back to engineering.
Probably while we're there, you might as well talk a bit about that. Can the same person do both, or do you find you have to have different people focused on those two different motions?
Sales teams, when it comes to selling, you need two different teams. A same individual who's selling to a Capital One is not an individual who will go sell to Robinhood.
Right.
You need two different teams.
Okay.
You need to keep the messaging positioning simple. What we call the lollipop slide. Here are the 7 things you do. Very much use case based selling is the word we use.
Okay.
We solve 7 problems. 2 problems we're very, very good at. And here are 4 more problems we want to solve. And give you very simplistic view, like some commercial customers or mid-market customers may only want to buy Veza for Snowflake. That's okay. There's enough value there. And, so I believe bimodal go-to-market is an important concept, especially in cyber, in cyber.
Yeah. Okay. That's very helpful. I'm going to go back on the timeline just a touch. I'm glad we moved forward, but let's go back just a touch to the point where you felt confident you had product market fit. When was that, and what was kind of the signal to you that you thought you had it for at least MVP, or not MVP, but at least Act 1, you know what I mean, which would be the visibility product. When did you think, I think we have product market fit. I want to go spend a lot more money.
It was late 2023, so 3.5 years in. Our rep called from Chicago, and his comment was, Tarun, if I can sell in Chicago, we can sell this shit anywhere. And that is when I realized the Act 1 can sell on its own.
I see.
And because I've realized...
because he was selling in Chicago.
By himself.
He was selling by himself in Chicago, and he was not a specially trained person. He was just a normal sales rep, and he was selling all by himself in a market that is Chicago, not, definitely a competent market, but it's not like it was just techies.
That's exactly right.
And that is what gave you the feeling that I think I have product market fit.
Not only was he not selling, he was able to build very sustainable, durable pipeline out quarters.
Got it.
And I think, he was like, if I don't get A on this quarter, Tarun, it's coming in 2 quarters. That knack, I think only salespeople, great salespeople have.
I gotcha.
That not only can I not sell this thing, but there continues, let me do 10 calls.
Yep.
And if 8 calls are moving to the second, to the third, to the fourth, that you have a repeatable motion.
So, given that you achieved that, what is it that, now that you have product market fit, what did it mean you needed to do?
In cyber, it's very important to have a very simplistic wedge. Because you don't want to be too disruptive to an existing ecosystem. Because nobody trusts you in cyber. And so we started with the visibility plane, right? And what we realized 3 years in, that, hey, one school of thought says, you have product market fit, let's just go as fast as we can. But what became very apparent to us is if you really want to go scale fast, in our language, you want to do triple and doubles every year, you need to now go into a very well-defined budget. It's very, in cyber, very important to go replace something and be better than what exists, something new to the something old. And so that led to our Act 2. Our Act 2 became the identity governance, identity visibility or identity risk to identity governance. And my all thanks goes to Intuit. They were the ones who said, what you have is great. We want you to go build identity governance. Fast forward 4 years, largest paying customer, they have the entire platform. They own the entire platform now. 4-year plus customer for ours. And that became our Act 2. And I will be forever grateful to organizations like Blackstone and Intuit.
How did you, you've described your reaction to finding product market fit with Act 1 and its impact on your product vision and your product roadmap. What impact did realizing you had product market fit have on your go-to-market and your expansions there? Like what did you think you needed to do?
Yeah, no, I think what we realized, we need to go get sales teams fired up and running quickly. And so, we've scaled our sales team to close to 30 sellers now, from 8. I think on expansion is where we realized, pick up these new things that are coming, the non-human identity, the agentic identity, which we'll talk about in shortly, that when you land with the visibility and give them 3 options, next-gen privilege access management, next-gen identity governance. And you need to be good at one, you don't need to be good at all. And customers realize that. And what we learned, especially in identity, I'm not a network security guy, I'm not an endpoint security guy. What I learned in identity is organizations are looking for a platform. There is so much of segmentation and fragmentation in the existing identity market. Duo for MFA, Okta for single sign-on, CyberArk for PAM, CrowdStrike for ITDR, too much fragmentation. And we had to go very early on. We have 7 shipping modules on a platform. That became very important.
I see. So customers were
truly
giving you
enterprise.
that feedback that you needed to have a more broad product vision in order for them to select you as a strategic
Vendor.
Vendor.
And yes, and for another thing that I've realized in
that you
cyber,
couldn't have just rested on your laurels of visibility. You had to, in order to get that wonderful net dollar retention expansion percentage that you had to expand the product portfolio.
Two stories. This goes back to the founders, as you said. Are you guys still together? So I went to one of our customers and I said, hey, first opportunity we did with you was X, and we want to do X plus 10. And he said, Tarun, if you want to do X plus 10, you need to replace something for me. And then you can have X plus 10. And that happened a few times with me. And I went to my co-founders and I said, we need to go build this new product. And 4 months of intense debate. Imagine a startup. You want to just go. But I think that's where it comes to that intellectual honesty, that intellectual bonding, where we spent 4 months debating because we realized what we were about to go into.
Got it.
This was not just let me build another X-ray machine.
Right,
This is now we're going from an X-ray machine. Veza is going to be a platform for onboarding employees, and that platform better be robust.
I gotcha. That totally makes sense. Since we're on the topic, let's hit the AI euphoria that is everywhere, and in my world, in your world. Describe to me, how do you see in the world of identity and the world that you're in, your opportunity to address all of these emerging identities that are agents?
I think this is very fascinating. This is, again, founding moment, right? We talked about that we get founding moments in the company. Inherently, we want to go apply AI in our products, rather than somebody's typing a structured query. Now you do natural language.
Right.
What does Eric has access to?
Right.
Google search.
Right.
So I think that we are leveraging AI as fast as possible, whether it is our graph, whether it is writing code, things like Cursor or Juni or many other things.
What's in the product and how you build the product are being impacted.
That's exactly right. It's giving us a lot of leverage.
People, leadership. There were 3 of you. I'm sure being a leader of you and 2 founders was super fun and a certain style of leadership that was required. What has changed in you? What has been required of you to change to lead 200 people?
I had realized in my first journey how important it is, when you want to scale. I use the word Dunbar number.
Yep.
DUNBAR. 140, 150, 160, doesn't matter.
Yep.
You get to a point where the company goes a little bit into crisis.
Yep.
3 founders running with 100 engineers.
Yep.
And that breaks.
Yep.
And it doesn't work. The way you communicate, the way you talk on Slack, the way you do emails, the way you make phone calls, all of that doesn't work.
Yep.
And so you have to refound yourself.
Yep.
And you go through refounding. And so I think 3 things that I have, to your question, the 3 things that I've, still learning and still like student.
It's a work in progress.
Whip. It's a whip. One, it just starts with, patience. I think patience of, when you hire somebody, it takes time. When you hire somebody when you're 4, they can ramp faster. But when you're 150 people, a leader is going to take time. And you just need patience. My second learning has been, hire elite leaders. Take your time, back channeling, reference, not just one meeting, maybe 6, 9 meetings. Leaders, I'm talking about leaders. Is it so very important to take the time?
I see.
And you're looking for what I call first principles, systems mindset, passionate problem-solving mindset. Do they understand cybersecurity? Right? Because here is another thing I've learned in cyber. You cannot hire an individual from Snowflake or a Datadog and say, can you be the leader for cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is special art of selling. And you need that mind. The third thing that I've learned is look, just managing your own emotions and your own intensity, if I can use that word.
Yep.
You know, the way you would talk to your co-founders or the way you would talk to the first 10 employees
Yep.
is very different the way you talk to the rest of the leaders.
Okay.
And so, you know, I embraced, one of the things I did is very early in this journey, I had a leadership coach and she was awesome. But she's like, I'm retiring, I'm leaving for Boulder.
Okay.
And she helped me find my second leadership coach.
Okay.
And you know, that gentleman has been transformative for me.
Wow.
You know, he
That's very mature of you to sort of have some self-awareness to realize that as this company grew and scaled, that you would benefit from a leadership coach, and instead of pushing on it, you welcomed it in. How did you come to that kind of self-awareness?
at the end of the day, it's about you're going to work with some people.
Yeah.
And not the walls of a firm, but with people.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I learned through some very hard lessons how important it is to find the right investors and the right board members and right partners beyond your employees.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and so how I came to this conclusion is, you know, I remember somebody mentoring me is like, look, this opportunity is so massive for
Mm-hmm.
you. It's so massive that you know,
You should give it its due.
Reinvention.
Yeah.
It's you know, we all have our own,
Yeah.
you know,
The scale of the opportunity was so exciting
big.
that it caused you to reflect on yourself, to
It
go,
was so
maybe I need
yes.
to
I just also need to
be
reinvent
man
myself.
up for this game.
Like that's a better word. That I had to go through my own growth, and you know, when I came to this realization that I'm not leading a 10, 20, 50 member remote team in Slovenia.
Right.
You know, we're leading
A diverse group.
is
Yeah.
elite leadership team,
Yeah.
and this is just the 5th year.
Yeah.
At 10th year, we'll have
Yeah.
the next elite leaders.
I know you're just mid-journey. I know there's still a lot. There's a lot for you to learn. There's a lot that is in front of you. But for those who are, you know, 2 clicks behind you that are just starting to come up, you know, like you've gotten to your D round. You raised $100 and something million recently. So I mean, you've accomplished something right now. You know, by no means the end. But what's the advice you have for a person who's just starting? You know, what is something that now that you've done it a second time, what would something you'd even do differently this time?
Just stay laser focused on the market. Be so dispassionate with your own ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all start with some passions. I want to go build an electric car.
Mm-hmm.
Just be dispassionate. Detach yourself. Don't get so wound up around your idea that is the only idea. No. The only truth is with the customer and the market.
Yeah.
You don't have the truth.
Right.
Remind yourself and be humble to realize that. Number 2 is culture. I think it's so important. You know, not just values, virtues, behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just starting to realize that, you know, and partly I think this is COVID, Eric.
Yeah.
Building a company in a home, in a Zoom for the last 4 years of our life.
Was hard.
Not only hard
For culture.
forget the hard. Yes. It was hard for the culture. You know, the teams coming together, the teams marinating with each other.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the reasons why Data Domain was iconic. We were together.
Yeah.
Frank would come every Friday for a lunch meeting.
Yeah.
And he would give his speech.
Right.
But I think that was
I'm with you.
it was the
That's
fabric
really,
of the company.
really good, dude.
And I think that was I'm realizing
Yeah.
how hard it is to
Get culture right.
scale in a COVID company. When you're
gotcha.
born COVID.
That's really good.
And the third thing I would do differently is hire leaders for stage fit. You can hire an elite leader, elite resume, home runs, but stage fit is very important. You know,
As a translation for the audience, stage fit might mean that for an early stage, this person is perfect as a leader, but maybe mid-journey, they may not be. Or they may be excellent for later stage, but definitely not great as an early stage
That's
leader.
exactly right.
And you're saying, add that to, it's not just is the person talented and can they do the job, but are they appropriate for the size, scale, and the mission for the next 2 years
That's
or
exactly
3 years?
That's exactly right.
Now, there are people who can go the whole way.
Correct.
But a lot of people, I hear what you're saying, are more stage appropriate.
Right. I mean, you may still be a systems person.
Yeah.
But you need systems for
Very good.
500 people, not 5,000 people.
Tarun, thank you very much.
Eric, thank you so much.
Appreciate your time, and keep going, my
Very
friend.
grateful. Thank you so much.